Thank you, Madam Speaker. At this time, as this is my first opportunity to speak and to rise on a bill before the House in this 45th Parliament, I'd like to take the opportunity to express my deepest appreciation to the people of Haldimand and Norfolk for putting their trust in me as their representative for the second term. I'm truly inspired by the people of Haldimand and Norfolk, and I'm truly honoured to be their voice in Parliament. Madam Speaker, it is important for Canadians at home to understand the broader context of this bill, Bill C-5, the One Canada Economy Act, which is before the House. Before U.S. President Donald Trump took office, the Liberal government was asleep at the wheel. The sweeping tariffs imposed by Trump and his America First policy and his post-Bretton Woods quest that seeks to upend the international order, while it's challenging to Canada, it is not the sole cause of the current trade problems that we now face. Rather, this disorder is simply uncovered a deep fissure within our nation, which has been caused by a decade of Liberal policies that have left Canada weak and vulnerable. Far from being the maple leaf, elbows up patriots they presented themselves to be, the Liberals have questioned Canada's ethos and have undermined the national sovereignty over the last 10 years. They undermine Canada's sovereignty by diverting billions of taxpayer dollars to the Green Revolution projects through the Green Slush Fund that has proven to benefit Liberal insiders. They betted against the oil and gas sector by shutting down pipeline projects while favouring the green investments from foreign autocratic countries with worse environmental records than Canada. The social fabric of our nation and our society was also eroded during the last 10 years of Liberal leadership, creating disunity, making us vulnerable to external threats. It's surprising to see the same Liberal Party that attacked our national identity by changing the names of streets, by tearing down statues of national leaders, and by removing national heroes like Terry Fox from our passport, turn around and put their elbows up and become the flag bearers of national pride. We have the third largest accessible oil reserves on the planet that we leave untapped. And once it's extracted, it goes almost exclusively to the Americans who refine it and who sell it back to us at a profit. This reality exists because the Liberal government failed to have a vision for the future generations and for Canadians, and instead prioritized their own ideological goals for their own political survival. The Liberal government has blocked the production of ethical oil in Canada, blocked LNG and oil development, going to international markets. We have failed to build our export capacity, and we have nearly become dependent on the U.S. market. As the G7 meets today on Canadian soil in the beautiful, resource-rich province of Alberta, we sadly have the unfortunate status of being the economy with the worst economic growth. The world's economic watchdog, the OECD, forecasts that Canada will experience the slowest growth in real GDP capita among its member countries between now and 2060. Madam Speaker, because the Trump tariff and this government's incompetence, workers are losing their jobs. Canadian families are anxious. Communities are shaken. In Haldimand, Norfolk, where I live and the community that I represent, there are thousands of residents who work at the Stelco mill. Stelco is a vital part of our community in terms of job, economic activities, and business partnerships. Right now, our community is hearing rumors of layoffs, and they are deeply concerned. Madam Speaker, the Liberal government had 10 years of power. The current Prime Minister was the economic advisor for a large portion of that time. They wasted the opportunity and resources, and they have left Canada vulnerable as a result. Madam Speaker, Conservatives want nation-building projects. We want to see projects accelerated. That's why Conservatives support the intent of this bill. But this bill takes only baby steps. I'm concerned that many Canadians are concerned that the Prime Minister is speaking out of both sides of his mouth. He told premiers that they will have a veto on resource project development and pipelines. This government's Environment Minister has also been directly questioned on the commitment to build pipelines, but could not even utter the word pipelines. During the election, we had the Prime Minister engaging in doublespeak, saying to one audience in Alberta one thing, and to Quebec saying something completely different. So please forgive us, Conservatives, if we are a bit skeptical that this government's business is not in pipelines. Actually, Madam Speaker, this bill is an indictment on the Liberals' own anti-resource law. If we're serious about removing barriers for workers, we need to also give professionals the ability to work across provinces, stop waste, and allow international doctors who are qualified to practice rather than driving Ubers. We need access to health care, and that is essential, especially in rural communities like Haldimand, Norfolk. We're seeing stories of Canadians waiting for hours in emergency rooms that are in desperate need of urgent care. More and more, we're seeing people dying on on wait lists, unable to get the critical surgeries that they need and the treatment that they need. Many residents still do not have a family doctor, which means they aren't getting timely access to care. Madam Speaker, I personally had to intervene in one of these situations and speak to the former immigration minister to help a doctor in Caledonia with paperwork to get it sorted out so that thousands of residents would not have been without a family doctor, and so that Dr. Marilyn Robertson in Caledonia could be replaced with a competent doctor from abroad. If this did not happen, many residents would have been out and left without a family doctor. There are an extraordinary number of bureaucratic hurdles that people have to go through in order to practice medicine in Canada. And this government has missed the opportunity to introduce the Blue Seal standard and get thousands of qualified doctors and nurses working in Canada through passing a sound and rigorous national test. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, we as a nation have a great and historical opportunity before us. I am full of hope for Canada. We have the potential to be the most prosperous nation on this planet, and the freest and the most advanced and the most just nation in the world. That is why Conservatives will always be committed to holding this Liberal government to account and calling for higher standards in service to Canadians. We will support the even small steps to strengthen this nation. Conservatives will keep fighting for a prosperous and sovereign Canada, and we hope that this government will do the same. Thank you.
The honourable member for Ajax.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the member for her remarks. The Act before us, the One Canadian Economy Act, seeks to break down internal trade barriers within our beautiful, great country, and also to advance national infrastructure projects. And I'm just wondering if we can count on the member's support.
Honourable member for Haldimand North.
Madam Speaker, I encourage the Liberals to continue stealing our great Conservative ideas. And, Madam Speaker, what is contained in this bill is just baby steps. and it shows some initiative, but there is so much more that needs to be done in order to truly break down interprovincial trade barriers, and Conservatives encourage the Liberals to take those further steps so that we can get on board.
Well done. Questions and comments? The honourable member for Barrie South in
We added the South this year, Madam Speaker, so thank you for the recognition. I've got to admit, it's with some sense of, I'm just tepid in supporting this bill, because I've seen over the last 10 years major announcements by this Liberal government, and yet nothing gets done. I'm old enough to remember during the recent election campaign when the Prime Minister made a promise and he said that interprovincial trade barriers would be removed by Canada Day, and yet we're dealing with a bill to deal with the removal of interprovincial trade barriers. So I know this honourable member has been here for a long time now. Does she share this same sense of tepidness that I do in terms of this government's ability to actually get things done? Or are these just more announcements, more of the same? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable member for Haldimand Norfolk.
I thank the honourable member for his question, and Conservatives are pushing, would want to see the Liberals do absolutely more and to have shovel-ready projects. And it's really unfortunate that we had a promise that we would eliminate, that there would be an elimination of these interprovincial trade barriers by Canada Day, and yet here we are still debating this issue. We would like to see this done at a much faster pace, and we would like to see greater steps. And yes, we need to move beyond this rhetoric and actually get this thing done.
Honourable député de Mirabel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My colleague referred to the fact that the Prime Minister during the campaign said something in English for Alberta, but something else for Quebec in French. I'd like to confirm. Is she talking about the English rhetoric, where out west he said that he would force national interest projects upon Quebec? If that's what he said out west. But then he went out east and he said that he would respect provinces' jurisdictions, especially with regard to the environment. Is she referring to the Anglophone rhetoric or the Francophone rhetoric?
I thank my honourable colleague for this question. Well, when we look at both of the statements that were made, they were highly contradictory. Out west, it would be, yes, we are going to build pipelines, we are going to develop, we're going to have shovel-ready projects. And then when they went to Quebec, it would be, no, there'll be a veto. If you don't want something coming through this province, you can veto it. And so there was a double standard as to what exactly this Prime Minister intends to do with making Canada more internationally competitive and making sure that we can have a robust response to these trade barriers.
Well, Deputy Houston.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to congratulate my honourable colleague for her re-election and coming back to the House. Madam Speaker, I'm curious to know what my member opposite thinks about the fact that they asked for an election, we went to the election, Canadians gave us a mandate to build a one strong Canadian economy. Are they opposed to removing the barriers across the provinces to increase productivity in Canada, to make sure that there's jobs for our young people, and to make sure that, respond to the mandate that Canadians gave us?
Honourable member for Haldimand Norfolk, 20 seconds.
I thank my honourable friend for her question, and I congratulate her on her success and victory here also. I think the fundamental issue is that these are conservative ideas. We are not opposed to building a one economy and ensuring that interprovincial trade barriers are broken down. That is what we've been advocating for. That is why we've advocated for resource.
And we have to resume.